It. Wolfman's got nards.
Hi guys, so It Chapter 2 is coming out on the 6th or the 5th of September, depending on where you are, in the theatres. And what I've decided to do is do a review for the It miniseries as well as the movie from 2017 as well. But we're focusing on the miniseries for now. As most of you know, it's not a movie. It is 2 episodes of a miniseries. So what I'm going to do to make it fair for the miniseries, I'm going to review each episode individually. Overall, it's not an amazing miniseries, and it's not because of the first part, it's because of the second part of the miniseries. So that's why I'm cutting it into 2 reviews. Part 1 focuses on the 7 outcast children who band together to destroy the shape-shifting clown killing children in their town. So we're calling this episode 1. For those of you who don't know, like I mentioned, this isn't a movie. A lot of people get this mixed up with being a movie, and then they mix up the 2017 movie for being a remake, but that's not the case. This is just a miniseries containing 2 episodes. It was originally aired over 2 nights with 1 episode a night, and that's it. It then got put on a VHS or a DVD or whatever as one whole movie. Because it was short enough, you can't really call Band of Brothers a movie because it consists of 11 episodes. It is a mini-series after all, but with movies or mini-series like Tommyknockers, The Stand, Stephen King's It, you can condense them into 1 disc or 1 VHS, and you can label it as a movie if you wish, but this isn't a movie. In this episode, we do see the adults in this episode. In fact, we see the adults first. And what I like about this one is with each adult that we get introduced to, we see their former self, we see their younger self 30 years in the past, and it gives us a good introduction to what the characters are like now and then what they were like in the past as kids. Most of you who know this anyway, it reminds us of shows like Stranger Things and also some movies that have come out recently like Summer of '84. It's got this group of kids who band together, and that's what we like about this. Even today, it's got that nostalgic factor to it because we all remember being kids, we all remember getting up to mischief, and we all remember making up stories of things that weren't really there, but we wanted them to be true so we can have that connection with our friends. And that's something that we as adults miss. And then when we watch things like this, it brings back that nostalgic factor. And I think that's why the first episode of the miniseries is fondly remembered more than the second episode. When you look back at the acting from episode 1, I don't think it has dated badly at all. I think that the cast itself was great. Jonathan Brandis was excellent as Bill, and obviously Seth Green was one of the standouts as one of the kids as well. But the biggest standout for me out of the kids was Henry Bowers. He was excellent. I wish he was still acting today. I know he's got his personal problems, and he has a YouTube channel as well, and he talks about that sometimes from time to time, about how he battles his demons and stuff. He was a fantastic actor in this film. The only other thing I saw him in was Disturbing Behaviour, and even at that he was only in it for like 2 seconds. But I think that Henry Bowers stole the show for me in this one, and I think that's what episode 2 lacked. We will discuss that in a different video. But the kids together as a whole group were great. The connection that all the kids had were excellent, and I think that was the strongest part of this miniseries. I think that Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise was iconic. It was different to Bill Skarsgård's performance, but his performance in It was, for me, one of the most frightening performances I've seen as a kid. Watching it today though, after watching not only Bill Skarsgård but any other bad guy in horror movies and TV shows or whatever, his performance was very comical watching it as an adult, and it's sometimes very cringeworthy, but I think he done great for what he had at the time. Remember, he was working with kids as well, so they had to kind of hold back at some points, but I think that watching it as a kid, I was totally frightened by Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise. But watching it today, it doesn't scare me today, but I think his performance was still outstanding. One thing I'm a sucker for even today is watching 80s movies that are set in the 50s. Now this is slightly different because I'm assuming that it's set in 1960, and the next part was set in 1990, 30 years later. And it was filmed in 1989 but came out in 1990, or it was filmed at the beginning of 1990 but it still had that 80s feel to it, as well as that 50s or late 50s vibe to it. So I'm a sucker for those time periods in horror movies, and I think that Stephen King's It gave me both of them. The soundtrack, again, the soundtrack was very iconic. After watching the movie and then going back to the miniseries, I still think that the miniseries soundtrack and the score was more iconic and more memorable as well. I remember coming out of the theatre from seeing It, the movie, and I still had the miniseries theme in my head. So I think that the miniseries has more of an impact in the score because it fit that type of clown better than the movie. I know I'm comparing them quite a lot. It's quite hard not to compare the movie to the TV show, but I'll try my best not to do that. I think that definitely the weakest parts of episode 1 were the parts where we saw the adults, and because I knew that they were the weaker parts even as a kid, I wasn't looking forward to episode 2 as a kid because I knew that it was going to consist more of the adults than the kids. So I think that the adults took me out of the story at some points, but I think it was still necessary to see the adults first and then share the memories with us with what happened in the past. This episode also had the most iconic scenes in it as well, and the most frightening scenes featuring Georgie at the beginning, the little girl at the beginning of the movie, and just the battle at the end in the sewers featuring the kids. Overall, if I'm rating this as one thing, as one episode, I think this is one of the best things I've seen as a kid, and it does hold up today despite what you think overall of the TV series. I think episode 1 does hold up today, largely thanks to the TV shows that are coming out today, like Stranger Things and stuff. It's got the nostalgic factor, and nostalgic factor's still very, very strong with episode 1. So look out for episode 2, that will be coming in a few days' time, guys. I'll do a review for that separately. I think it is best to separate them because I do have different opinions from part 1 to part 2, so look out for that one soon. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.